Evie, I've read that 20% of young women between the ages of 16, 17 to 19 have an eating disorder.
Hmm.
And I've never met a young woman before that's experienced an eating disorder. And I know that's something that you have. When did that start for you? When did you kind of find out that you've got an eating disorder?
I thought I was doing something right. I thought that it was a good thing because it's very much an eating disorder will pretend to be your friend.
Okay.
So I felt like I was going in the right direction and I was just working really hard until suddenly I started getting scared of things that I wouldn't be scared of. I started thinking, actually, I'm rejecting food. It's not me saying I'd rather this. I'm scared to eat something.
And what were you scared of? Scared that it would make you put on weight?
Yeah, genuinely became so attached to the calories and the numbers that I just couldn't look at anything else. So if I was thinking, oh, I'm hungry, I'm not thinking I'll have some food. I'm thinking I'll have some numbers.
Does that take all the enjoyment out of food? Does it become, you talk about that fear thing, so it's something you fear, it's not something you
Yeah,
enjoy at all. It becomes a real part of fear in your life.
definitely. I think in some areas and some aspects, sometimes you can enjoy the food, but when you're stuck in that eating disorder mindset, it's only when it meets the eating disorder's requirements.
Okay.
So you'll allow yourself to have something.
Yeah.
I can have that. That's okay. That's safe. But then that can flip. The next day, you might not think that that's safe.
Is what's driving you that you need to lose weight, or is what's driving you that if I eat, I'll feel bad? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot for me, it was about body image. So
Okay.
it was constantly about how I look. Do I look right? Am I lean enough? Am I small enough? It was just a constant battle.
You've got a demand on yourself to look a certain way. And
Yeah.
if you look a certain way, then you'll feel happy.
Yeah.
But that mainly came from what you're seeing online. So was that
Yeah.
other young women, or was that models, or was that fitness people? What were you comparing yourself to?
I think it was very difficult because I didn't have anything to compare myself to. With a lack of masculine women, either you've got women to compare to or you've got men to compare yourself to. So that morphed together. There was nothing for me to compare to that was actually healthy for my body.
But if that happened again now, how would a young woman growing up start to achieve that body she wants without going down that funnel of an eating disorder?
I think definitely there needs to be more advice, more representatives of masculine women in fitness industry. There needs to be more awareness in schools. They need to be able to teach people and coach people that food is fuel. When you do the Eat Well guide, like this is good, this is bad, you're already putting negative connotations on food. When we should be seeing it as this will fuel this will fuel that. Because immediately we're brought into a world where people are like bad, good, but it should all be neutral.
We often see famous people that may, they'll talk about anorexia in the media, but you never really understand how it works, and you often just think, well, why don't you just eat and you'll be fine. At which point does support need to come in? So,
what happened with me is my parents had started to realize that something wasn't looking quite right. I was losing weight and I wasn't eating right. So first things first, I went to school. I got a counsellor. They unfortunately were not trained in how to deal with eating disorders and did not know where to pass the information. Then was referred to the GP, and the GP referred me to CAMS, but I didn't need to go to CAMS, so my mum followed it up again and said she needs community eating disorders. Then I got to the community eating disorders. But throughout that time where I was going through so many referrals, I rapidly declined. I was terrified of going back to the person that I was. It came from a place of I was uncomfortable, and it felt like when I was being told to weight restore that they were telling me, you need to feel like that again. But all my therapists kept reminding me is I'm not going to be my 14-year-old self again. I'm not rewinding. I'm moving forward.
You're going to be a new Evie.
I'm a new Evie. I'm not going back. I'm going forward to make a new body that I feel comfortable in. It's being healthy and balancing and having food freedom.
It's really interesting that you share, because your parents work in health services, that they were able to get you help and support. If they weren't within that service, would it have been harder to get what you needed?
Yeah, I honestly do not want to know what the outcome would have been if it hadn't have been my parents pushing. I was completely changed. There was no push or drive from anyone around me to say, she's not okay. There was none of that recognition.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big realization and a big letdown from a lot of people.
So how did you notice that you were starting to feel better? What were the signs?
Well, one of the biggest breakthroughs was I stopped weighing things and I started joining in with family dinners again, which was massive for me. And it was the fact that I could then plate up my meal without calculating, oh, how much am I putting on my plate? Slowly, I started just
doing it.
Just putting food on my plate.
And was that almost subconscious that you were doing that?
Yeah. And
wow.
And that was when I was like, I'm actually getting somewhere. And then I stopped feeling such pressure or urgency and anxiousness before a meal. And I'm just like, yeah, that's okay.
That's clearly a change in your psyche. And how did that come about? Was that therapy and repeating some new messages, or was that stuff you had to work on? How did you get to that point where you were naturally doing stuff differently?
So it was more about kind of overcoming the initial lashback. I remember my brother picked a meal and I was like, no, absolutely not. Immediately, anorexia just responded and was like, no, absolutely not, and shut that down.
Okay.
And I tried to reason with myself, is that really going to do anything? What is wrong with that? And then you realize that is anorexia. I can have that. And I went back and I said, we can do that.
Wow, that's really powerful. So you can know that the message in your head is not you.
Yeah.
It's the anorexic message that's coming through.
Definitely.
And so you can challenge that. How do you get to that point? Is that courage? Is that hard work? Is that just, I've got to dig down and find some emotional strength in here? Or is there some magic in there?
I think it's about finding what's your why. Using that to then reach a new goal, a new healthier goal, a new one that's going to benefit you, your mental well-being. So for me, getting back into running, that was all I wanted to do. I got vision boards, placemats, everyone was on the path of, we're getting Evie back to running.
Okay.
And everything was directed full force for that.
Wow, that's fantastic. But if you could share just some small bits of wisdom or advice about what you would tell someone or advise someone who's in the depth of an eating disorder problem, what sort of things would you say to them that perhaps you needed to hear at the time?
I would say everything you want is on the other side of fear. Everything.